Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of We Need to Talk. We are in week 2 of our Road to the Election series. Joining me again this week, we have musician Ian Felchlin.
Hello.
And American government professor and the founder of Justice Warriors Academy, Ndidi Amadi.
Hey there.
And our special guest this week is comedian and activist, my friend Dana Goldberg.
Oh, hi. It is so good to see you again.
Yes,
and so nice to meet the
you
two of you. My goodness.
Likewise.
So this past week, you guys...
was the longest 10 years of my life.
Since last week.
Yes, right. we have so much to talk about. So let's just dive right in. So Amy Coney Barrett hearings, the confirmation hearings started, and I watched as much as I could without throwing up. But they were, a lot happened. And I will say that I left not feeling good, honestly. And I'm personally not a fan. I don't really know any better way to put it. I'm not a fan. I understand the fears and concerns that a lot of people have. I think that she was very smart in how she was able to dodge her answers with the questions. I wasn't a fan of the line of questioning either. I do think that they should have been a little stricter with her and really pushed, but I want to hear your feedback. So Dana, I'm actually going to start with you. What was your takeaway from watching the hearings?
First thing I'll say is blessed be, thank you. Because, oh my God, she's terrifying. Okay, listen. I know they're saying they're attacking her religion, but her religion is basically a cult. We on the left have no problem with Catholics. Joe Biden's a Catholic. Several of the Supreme Court justices, Catholics. We've supported. This isn't about her religion. It's about her belonging to a religion that thinks women should be subservient, that thinks LGBTQ people should not have equal rights, that she says she's, quote, an originalist of the Constitution, which means she herself should not even be running for the Supreme Court if that's
100%.
So what is my takeaway? I think that Senator Whitehouse, if you watched his 10 minutes that he used very wisely on day 2, this thing is being controlled by dark money. The person that actually put her up as the Supreme Court nominee got a tremendous donation from someone in the millions, and this has been in the works for a very long time. They were touting her as a candidate before she was even put forth. I think this whole thing is a ruse, and I'm really disappointed. Rest her soul. I was hoping she would make it past the election, but she's been fighting for us, RBG, for so many years. It's just, I'm so tired of the chips falling in this guy's direction. It's unbelievable.
It really, really is.
So to sum that up, she's a candidate I think is unqualified. The fact that I understand people forget certain things, Perry forgot that he was, the Department of Energy head. He wanted to get rid of that one and forgot what it was in the debate. But when you're running for the Supreme Court justice and you cannot mention, you don't know the 5 freedoms and the First Amendment, and you refuse to look like you studied and have a blank notepad in front of you, I'm insulted that you did not prepare more for this hearing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And Ndidi, what about you?
Absolutely. I've been listening to the hearings in and out, and I haven't really been impressed with anything that she had to say. It's a slap in the face for RGB and the people who come after her, for her to be her replacement. So it places a lot of fear in people to think what's going to happen with these decisions that she's going to be swaying in her direction and her side's direction. It's actually, it's very scary. It's very frightening. And I think a lot of people are afraid right now.
Ian, I know we talked a little bit and you seem pretty confident that she is going to get confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's any doubt that she will, and that there ever was any doubt. I mean, I think her as a person, it's pretty obvious that she's, for all intents and purposes, a Republican plant on the court. I mean, I think it's even foolish to consider her anywhere close to Scalia, regardless of any previous relationship they may have had, because say what you will about him, he wasn't, at least for most of it, wasn't part of this extreme, almost intentionally provocative branch of the Republican Party. And it's obvious to me, like Senator Whitehouse touched upon, but it's obvious to me that she is really only there to apply judgment within the parameters of what the conventional Republican Party wants when they're leaning towards the extreme ends they are now. I mean, the hearings themselves is kind of a tough one. I agree with you. I was not impressed with the line of questioning. I was more comically impressed that it almost became like an ad for Lindsey Graham to save his campaign. Let alone all the other weird Republican like diatribes and asides. Like part of it felt like really bad, like white Shakespeare, and I say white meaning like uneducated, like just it's they're doing these like asides like you would see in Hamlet or something, but it's about their campaign or about the president, or it's just ridiculous things like that. I mean, the challenge I felt with the hearings is that the Democrats had to know that there was no way that that anything they do or say is going to prevent her from getting confirmed, unless by some miracle one of the handful of possibles on the Republican side have a change of heart and decide to not confirm her. I think these were it felt like a final interview at a job that you knew you had. It was formal.
It's a done deal pretty much. Yeah,
totally.
I would have liked to see them press her harder on some stuff simply so the information was out there, like you guys said. I mean, I feel like she got away too easy with evading a question and then moving on. It almost felt like they were allowing her, it felt like they were allowing her to like be shifty, and that was enough. But I feel like they could have really like taken a page from, I know it's another topic of tonight, but taken a page from the Trump town hall moderator where she just would not let him get away with stuff. You know what I mean? And I feel like they're if we know we're going to be stuck with this woman for however long, like, let's try to force her to lay it all out.
And not even that they didn't push her. They've allowed her to amend her Senate paperwork after omission after omission. I don't know how many times. So she can amend her paperwork, but apparently we're not allowed to amend the Constitution. Like, it's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard.
I was just going to say, people make rules for themselves, for other people, but they don't ever apply to them. That's just what the situation is.
Yeah, and I feel like there was some thought on the Democrat side that maybe this isn't a battle their primary battle right now. So it just kind of was like an exercise in showing opposition to something, but there wasn't actual like push behind it. And that's not to say that any of them don't actually feel she's not qualified, but it just felt like they were going through the motions of opposing a Republican nominee, which obviously they've done a lot in the past few years.
Yeah, I agree with you. I would have liked to have seen more. I think that Senator Klobuchar, Amy's questioning was phenomenal when she did hers. Harris always pushes back, and White House, but I agree with you. I think they just felt like she's going to get confirmed. This is a exercise in futility, but people are watching. Millions of people are watching. Tell us how dangerous she is. Push back as hard as you can. I feel like, and some people have said, and listen, I'm not saying we need to get dirty, but Democrats in general just are not fighters in the sense of like going head to head the way they play it. And all we have to do is spew facts. I mean, truly, to fight back as hard as we can, all we have to do is use our own words against them. And sometimes I just don't even feel like we go that far.
We have painted ourselves as the party of morality, that's why they don't want to. It's exactly what Michelle Obama said, when they go low, you go high. But sometimes it's like, you need to go low. Because
I think,
we're at that point. Go ahead, Ndidi.
We're at that point. I think I saw something funny on social media. Someone said that when they go low, I'm going to hell, because it's like, we can't. I'm not going to go high or medium, because right now we kind of need to fight fire with fire. Even with the first presidential debate, and then Trump was just playing dirty as he always does, and Biden tried, but he kind of just sunk down to his level and was like, shut up. And sometimes you kind of need to just tell a joker to shut up, because I feel like it's very unfair to the American people when we're not getting what we deserve, honestly, to kind of just wash our hands and to be like, well, they're going to get what they get anyway. Right. It's unfair.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's at some point, at some level today, we want the morality and the being nice and the going high, but we also want like authenticity. Like if somebody says that to you on the street, you're not just going to like, okay, it's fine, whatever. It doesn't mean you get in a fight, but the natural human inclination is to say something back or to
call them out on it,
to return the equal force. And I just don't think that somehow the Democratic Party, who people in office, have learned to do that in the past 4 years.
Yeah. I don't know if that will change if Biden is elected, but they do need to kind of just, step up a little bit with that, with hitting him back.
I think what's happening, and people can argue with me about this because it's just a theory, is that social media has taken over. And so the talking pieces of a lot of politicians are amplified by Twitter. Well, a lot of people running social media now are of the younger generation that understand how to use it, manipulate it more. We see AOC do it very, very well, but there's a younger generation. And I think that organically after the election, it might not necessarily be Biden, but it's the people behind Biden that are his talking piece and getting his message out that know how to use this more effectively. Because with the pandemic, I mean, we've seen it with our parents. Like when I try and, FaceTime my mom, I can see the ceiling, her nostril, and her glasses. And I'm like, okay, we have to teach an entire generation how to use technology.
That's a whole nother podcast. Yelling.
Everything.
I used to, being a former employee of Apple and working at the Genius Bar, like I love older people, but come on.
It's
Anyways.
FaceTiming
But
with
they
my parents
have, they are picking it up. They're being forced to. They are being forced to change, and that's what's I think going to happen nationally is with this pandemic and with the way social media and technology, we're just being forced to change. And I feel like on people's teams, it may not be Biden directly because he's, he is older, but he's also pretty hip. Like Biden catches on with stuff and he's able to do it, I think, more quickly than most because he has been. But yeah, I agree with you, Ian, completely. I think that we need to, I don't want to do an eye for an eye, but at the same time, why not? If it's equal and an equal ground, let's do it.
Yeah.
Might be a good marketing campaign. If Trump can tweet, you can too.
Yeah.
Or an eye for an eye. Let's go for that. That's my slogan.
So in terms of Amy Coney Barrett getting confirmed, do you think that concerns about, Roe versus Wade and marriage equality being overturned are legitimate?
100%. Definitely the healthcare, huge issue. She's already written things. She's gone up against the ACA. We know that there's a reason she was chosen. So to pretend that there's not a reason she was chosen and this is just a roll of the dice is completely absurd. With LGBTQ issues, listen, she comes from a religious, if you will, background, fine, we'll call it a religion, that does not believe in equal rights, that does not believe that we should have equal protection under the law. And it is scary. I mean, she's got 5 or 7 kids, and there's no shot on this, but if it is closer to 7, there's, a good percentage that one of those kids, just like, the Duggars, is playing for the LGBT.
Right.
It just, her ideologies are terrifying, I think, for marginalized communities across the board. And I do believe that Roe versus Wade is in danger. She's been very clear about this, and to pretend that she hasn't, that was my frustration with the hearings, is that, people pretending, oh, come on, she's not going to do that. I'm like, there's a reason you chose this candidate. Right. Trump was very clear. White House said over and over, it is in the Republican and the GOP platform for 2016, 2020 to appoint judges that are going to overturn Roe v. Wade, overturn Obergefell, and overturn the Affordable Care Act. So it's not like they're hiding this. It's just for some reason the press is ignoring it.
And I also got the impression just during the hearings that in her answers, she was very, very careful on how she answered it without saying, yes, I would overturn this. Yes, I am against this. But I think if people really pay attention, they would know what she actually is saying. So I do agree. I do think it is a legitimate concern and a legitimate fear that people have. And, if you're in that community, if you're a woman, if you're a person of color, I think you have right to be scared right now, to be honest.
Absolutely. It is a legitimate fear. And like Dana said, she accurately stated, Trump has been very clear about his plans. I think that's why his base likes him, because what he does what he says he's going to do, whether it's detrimental or not. And he has been very clear. So I think that people should be alerted as to what they're saying they're going to do, because they're going to push for it with every fiber of their being. So it is very concerning. I mean, one of the conversations I have with a lot of people that I talk to is that we do not live in a theocracy. So whatever your religion is, it shouldn't be imposed on other people.
Yeah.
And the law shouldn't be imposed on other people too. This is a democracy.
Oh, I was just going to say, I was having a conversation with someone just in terms of how people vote, and people vote with their morals, and a lot of people's morals are, crafted because of their religion, but that's such an issue. It's
It's a
such an
huge
issue.
issue.
People don't know how to differentiate between what is
Mhm.
right just for society and democracy and what is right for you personally.
Well,
And
and I think the idea that any of it is actually based in religion is complete garbage. It's based in
Mm.
control. It's
mm,
because if you can take away the rights to abortion, if you can take away equal rights for LGBTQ, and you can do anything really to hamper the rights of people of color, you're controlling those populations. You're
Right.
also kind of controlling the white population as well, because you're feeding them what they want to be told and what you want them to hear. And the idea that it's based in religion is simply taking an originalist view of the Bible, or cherry picking context from the Bible and using it as the veil behind which you hide this control. And that's why I think that, for as much as they want to say that her weird religious group is not a cult, or it is not the inspiration for Handmaid's Tale, which it isn't the actual one, despite similarities, the fact is that it's using religion as a tool to control, which is exactly what happens in
yeah.
that book.
And the
You
way
know what
that,
I mean? And
yeah. I'm
it's
sorry, keep
just
going.
no,
Yeah.
no, it's okay. I mean, my thought is just that's what is very, very, very frustrating on top of us. The really frustrating cherry on top of this shit Sunday is that it's not. It's none of it's actually because of religion. None of it's actually because of the reasons they say it is. It's all so they can control people of color, people in the LGBTQ community, and the country in general. Because the more that they can use these laws to change, to dictate what you can do with healthcare, dictate what you can do with your own body, dictate what kind of rights you have compared to other citizens, their hand is stuck in the middle of all the strands. It's just disgusting.
The arguments as well that were used, people are saying, because the right is all going, the left saying she's racist. Well, I never saw anything
Right.
about that, but all of a sudden they're throwing that in there, which is ridiculous, because they're like, she adopted two, black children. I'm like, yeah, and you know what? There was a lot of slave owners that had sex with their slaves, so maybe we
Right.
shouldn't have this conversation.
Right.
Yeah.
And then they talk about her children. Oh, she's such an incredible. Why is this a line of questioning? I have no idea. Charlotte Clymer, an incredible trans activist, said, I have no idea how many children Roberts has because it never came up. Why are we
Right.
even talking about this? You can't tell me how many kids Roberts has. I don't even know if he has children,
He
for
could be a
God's sake.
eunuch. We don't even know.
No idea. Don't know if he's got a penis. Don't care if he has a penis. I mean, they don't talk about these things
They don't.
with
They don't.
men when they are up
Yep.
for positions. They just don't.
Or how
It's-
about the
yeah.
question about who does the laundry in her
I was
home?
just going to bring
Oh
that
my
up.
God.
I was like, yeah.
What? What?
Like, I don't care what side you're on. That question's offensive.
Well,
I
it's
mean,
it's any attempt they can take to reinforce what they view as the correct female stereotype, which is
Right.
not a woman actually in power, not a woman actually pursuing something for her own interests, not for that of her family. Even if it's at a hearing to confirm a woman to the highest court in the land, they're still doing what they can to reinforce the women are best at home with the children and doing
Yeah.
laundry, and
Yeah.
that's it.
Yeah.
It's all a game to keep control of the populace,
And
because
they
they're all insecure.
And they
Mm.
slip out. They cannot hide this. It's the
Yeah.
same thing as
Mhm.
like, and Lindsey Graham, I'm so tired of her antics during these hearings. It's like she's auditioning for the Crucible. Every time she did, like even during Kavanaugh, and Kavanaugh started crying for like the third time when he was like, I like beer. And Lindsay was like, I have never. And you're like, all right, Leslie Jordan, sit down. Like, I can't deal with his antics. And then when he was like, have you heard anyone on your side of the aisle wanting to go back to the good old days
Of segregation.
Right.
I was like, I'm just waiting for him to say uppity. Like, Lindsay, stop talking.
Lindsey Graham is like if somebody like did a Ouija board over a Tennessee Williams play. Like, he is like the conjured spirit of a racist, closeted character in like Cat on a Hot Tin Roof or something. Like, it's crazy.
And I
Yeah.
don't even care if you're gay, Lindsay. Stay in the closet.
Right.
I don't care. I don't want Mike
Stay in the
Pence on our
closet.
team. Stay in the closet if you are. Like, but stop making laws. And Lindsay, I mean, Jamie Harrison is kicking his
Yeah.
ass.
Yeah.
And
It's
Lindsay
incredible.
is breaking laws on the floor of this hearing asking for donations for his, and there's no consequences. There's no
Right.
consequences.
That's the problem. These people think they're invincible because nobody has actually ever said no to them. And that's what drives me crazy. Even when we, talk about Trump, I mean, that's how he's president of the United States. But I do want to shift gears now, and let's talk about Trump and Biden and the town halls that happened. So
oh my goodness.
I gave you all an assignment and nobody wanted to take the Trump town hall. But I ended up watching both of them. But let's talk about Biden first and foremost. Biden wasn't, I don't think he was really anybody's first choice in the primaries. I've never had an issue with Biden, but he was just there. Like, he was great. I loved him and Obama together, but he wasn't my first. He really impressed me in this town hall, more so than in anything else I've seen him in, because I felt like his demeanor was very calm. I felt his answers were very succinct, and he did show, like, I can do this without being flustered by this, petulant child yelling at me on stage while I'm trying to talk. So I really enjoyed a lot of the things that he had to say. I love that he brought up the crime bill, and he finally said what I think a lot of Black Americans were wanting him to say, that he did regret some of the aspects that were part of it.
Absolutely.
So, Ndidi, I'm going to start with you. What was your feeling in regards to Biden with his town hall?
Absolutely. I think Biden, like you said, is gaining more confidence with how he presents himself to the American people. I think that when he doesn't have to face Trump, that he's just more calm in his demeanor. Like you said, I like the fact it goes to the point that we talked about the first podcast, when we would really just want politicians to own up to some of the mistakes that they have made in the past. So that was really great for him to do that, because we just want authenticity and we just want people to be real with us. And so Biden wasn't my first choice either. But here we are, and I think that he's doing a pretty good job in his campaign so far. And I just hope as long as he continues along this vein, I think that he'll have a good shot of winning.
Great. Ian, what about you?
I totally agree. I think he was so candid and real, especially with the people that were asking questions. And yes, to Stephanopoulos as well, but like, it just felt like he was sitting there listening to them, listening to their question, listening to everything he could gain about who they were, and responding quickly and honestly. And I know that there's people in headlines saying he was rambling, but to me, it never felt like it was a problem. He felt like he was spur of the moment reacting to these people, not with rehearsed answers for the most part, and being very like real. And it was so refreshing.
Same. Someone tried to attack him and be like, it's like watching a Mr. Rogers episode. And I'm like, and thank God for that. Like, it was so
What's wrong
nice.
with that?
It was so nice. It was kind. It was empathic. So what I did is I watched the Biden town hall, and during the commercials, thank goodness, I jumped onto Twitter to see what shit show was happening over with the
Same. Yeah.
with the Trump fiasco. And I think what we have to remember, people give Biden a hard time about his gaffes, and I don't know what the hell you want to pronounce it. And they have happened. They have happened. The thing that I want people to remember is he's never going to have to deal with someone screaming at him and interrupting him like Donald Trump does. No foreign dignitary, no foreign leader behaves in a manner as Donald Trump does. So none of them, that's why Joe Biden is so respected. We don't see, and the bottom line is and if someone wants to correct me on this, they can. I believe that Trump knew exactly what he was doing by attacking him in the first debate, interrupting him, because what it does is it flusters him and it brings out the stutter. And when the stutter comes out, people want to say Joe Biden's mind is getting weak, and that's not what's happening. Any human being who is attacked and verbally abused the way Donald Trump was doing it, and if you have any experience with an abusive relationship, it triggered the hell out of a lot of people. That debate did.
I'm sure.
So no foreign leader is going to talk to someone like that. I know that the Biden we saw in this town hall is the Biden that talks to foreign leaders, is the Biden that talks to marginalized communities, is the Biden when a Black man says to him, instead of looking at me and saying, if I don't vote for you, I ain't Black, what else do you have to say to me? That could have tripped someone up. Absolutely, because those were his words. It was one of those moments where someone used one of those things that may not have been what he meant, but he had to hear it back, and he was able to respond to that young man in a way, and he was also willing to talk to him until he was satisfied with the answer. It wasn't like, here's my answer, let's move on. It was, was that enough for
Yeah.
you? How do you
Yeah.
feel about what I just said? And I think it's a mutual respect that he shows
Mhm.
for his constituents and for the
Mhm.
voters around the country.
First of all, just thinking of that, because I didn't, it didn't click with me until you said that, Donald Trump it was very calculated what he was doing to trigger the stutter with him. And that like breaks my heart because
Mhm.
he's just a freaking bully. Like
He's a
he's
huge
Yeah.
just a
bully.
big old bully. But I think that a lot of people view that for some reason as like strength, or he's being strong, or he's being
Mhm.
commanding, and I don't understand how people cannot see that he's just a
Mhm.
bully. It
Yeah.
really drives me crazy that people think. I read a status actually during the debates between Trump and Biden, and it basically said all of that. It's like, you see this, I see this, you see this,
Mhm.
I see this, and it was just the complete contrast. And
Mhm.
it, we talk about Amy Coney Barrett's religion being a cult, but I'm convinced that all the MAGA followers, that is a cult
100%.
100%.
Yeah,
Well, I
Yes.
think
it's
I think
weird.
it's because when they see him do stuff like that, or really anything he ever does in his life, they see themselves.
Hmm.
And the
Mhm.
and I don't want to generalize, but I would say that the overwhelming amount of his supporters are cripplingly insecure, undereducated. I won't say not educated, but undereducated, uh, straight white males, and
Mm,
they're the people in their perimeter, and it breeds itself. I mean, you can see it. They see him being a bully to somebody with a stutter who's
Mhm.
by all accounts a better man and more intelligent than him, right? So when that happens on the school field, or when that happens in school or whatever, or in your neighborhood, the natural inclination for the person who perceives themselves as lower is to be the bully. And that's why all these people
yeah.
like him, is because they see that strength that
Mhm.
they either A, did themselves and were criticized for, and they feel like he's now making it okay, or B, they see in him something that they maybe never had the balls to do, or the
Mhm.
absurdity to do. So they like it. And I think what happens is all of his followers who are not the insecure straight white males, because he has a lot of followers. I think those people are in periphery to people like him, and they don't know any better example of manliness or strength that
Yeah.
makes them feel okay. Because as soon as you call somebody who isn't a bully, somebody who is outwardly respectful, the minute you call them more manly and stronger than Donald Trump, which there's no doubt that Biden is, it plays on the insecurity that those people have.
I
I
think
think
And
we
it's a
as a
great point.
yeah.
it's much easier to grasp onto somebody who's a giant piece of garbage and is
Mhm.
mean and is sad and is angry and insecure than it is to confront your own flaws.
And
And I think
another
that's what's happens. Good.
And another thing is that he gets rewarded for it. This is a
Absolutely.
Yes.
man who has bullied his way throughout the entire campaign trail, making fun of disabled people, making fun of Latinos, making fun of women, misogynistic remarks, and he has ascended to the highest heights of the land. So they see somebody like that, like he's a bully and he's getting everything. When he
Right.
makes fun of somebody, he demeans somebody, it's on every news channel. He's getting
Yep.
exactly what he wants.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
We've
He's
also as a
still a loser to me.
society, yeah. I mean,
He's
and
still
we
a loser to me.
Yeah,
Sorry.
as a
He is.
loser. That's loser behavior.
Yeah. But
yeah.
sorry, Dana, go ahead. What were you saying?
No, it's okay. I was saying we as a society, if you read Mary Trump's book, there's a big part about how, his bravado and his ability to be a bully, it was actually rewarded by his father. So this is
Mm,
something that
Mm.
was definitely put into his psyche from a very young age. And unfortunately, we as a society see that type of behavior as masculine,
Mhm.
Right.
and the softness of Joe Biden, even down. And I will say this, and I understand, I will respect people when they say they are uncomfortable with someone's touch. But
Mhm.
even down to Joe Biden's sensitivity and the way he hugs and
Yeah.
holds people, he has
Yeah.
had a tremendous amount of life loss in
Mhm.
his life, from his first wife and child to his son. And so he holds on to people very tightly in
Yeah.
his world. And
yeah.
and unfortunately, we have half the country calling him a pedophile because of it. That's
Mhm.
where a lot of this comes in, where
Yeah.
we as a society have just unfortunately the idea of what a man looks like has now been bastardized by Trump even further than it was before. And those are the gap between that gentle man that Joe Biden is and whatever the hell Trump comes off to be has gotten wider. And I think we need to bridge that gap. And hopefully, I mean, I feel like people that are like gender non-binary and people that don't subscribe to the that gender profile are the ones that are blurring those lines for us. And if we allow ourselves to listen and go, yeah, that doesn't define what a man is, and that doesn't define what a woman is. It allows us to look into our own self and go, I like that masculine part of myself. Or for a man to go, I really like that soft part of myself, but Donald Trump is not the example.
Definitely. I think that's a valuable point because, we can get into the whole masculinity and femininity conversation, but that's not what we're focusing on. But in terms of Joe Biden, when all of those allegations against him did start to come out, and I really, really listened, because again, I'm not one that's ever going to take away from somebody else's truth and based on how they felt. But when I've watched Joe Biden, that's kind of always the vibe I've gotten from him, that he's just, it's a comforting, and, even bringing up the loss of his family, that kind of reinstated that my perception of him, that it was from a good place and good intention. But he also had the humility to come out and say, things are changing and I'm willing to change with them. So that's why I appreciate him so much. And I think that where we are in the world, it really is upsetting that we have to pray and hope for somebody to lead this country that just has an ounce of empathy and humanity at this point, because we've lost it over the last few years. Like, it's completely gone. There is literally no humanity in that White House or anybody in that administration. So, I'm hoping, I'm praying that November 3rd will be a change. We still have a lot of work to do, even if he does get elected. But, that's what I'm hoping for. But talking a little bit about Trump's town hall, I will say the takeaway that I got from it is that he thought it was a setup, and I completely do think it was, for all the right reasons, because I 100% think that they set him up to make him look like the idiot that he is, and I'm here for it. Savannah Guthrie did not let up, and what I loved was seeing a strong woman, because I was like, Savannah Guthrie from the Today Show? Like, why she interview the president? I take back I like her on the Today Show, but I was like, what? She killed it. She really did not let up on anything with him. She didn't let him, not answer. She didn't let him evade. She's like, no, but this is this, you said this. And I really give her props. And I think that was the whole point of them scheduling this. I really wish it wasn't scheduled at the same time as Biden's, but I'm not as mad at NBC as I was in the beginning.
I actually, I have the same school of thought, honey. I think it was Fred Gutenberg down in Florida who said, I owe NBC an apology. We got to see exactly who Trump was. And we have to remember, Susan Guthrie took Matt Lauer's position. So this is a woman that was put in place of someone who was dismissed because of sexual misconduct. And now she's sitting in front of someone who has, over 25 allegations from different women. She's not going to back down to this guy. And what blows my mind is the hypocrisy from the right being like, it was a blitz or whatever they called it, and she completely attacked him. She did the same thing to Trump that Trump did to Biden in the first debate, and no one said a damn thing.
100%.
The difference is what she was saying was actually live fact checking. She wasn't interrupting him to throw him off. She was literally fact checking him in live time. That's what it was.
Right. And I enjoyed every bit of it. So are there any more debates left? There's one more. Okay. I thought so. I wasn't sure. So I'm looking forward to that, and we'll see how it goes.
Something should be said that we didn't want to watch it. All four of us were like, I don't want to watch this. I mean, that's how far down we've gone that we don't even want to watch someone who's running for the president of the United States.
Well,
not even just running. He is the president.
Sadly.
I can't do this.
That's the beautiful thing that I found through all of it, is that going in, people were mad at NBC. Clearly, the Trump campaign was like, we're going to do it. We're going to get all the best ratings. It's going to be a smash success. And it completely wasn't. It was totally a setup for the right reasons, like you said. He didn't get better ratings than Joe Biden, and he made himself look like even more of a fool. I mean, it was, and like you said, how none of us wanted to watch it. Talking with some friends of mine, I would say I know a few of them did watch his, but most people watched Biden's, and that's really great to me, is that we've managed to a little bit grow out of this not being able to tear ourselves away from the presidential car crash.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Agreed.
I mean, he had 3 million more viewers. Biden had 3 million more viewers than Trump. I'm surprised. Did Trump say anything about it? I didn't see his like
He
rant.
probably said he had the biggest ratings crowd ever.
Yeah.
Ever in life.
Yeah, of course, because that's what he says, because he's insane. So, but let's shift gears a little bit. So this week, again, like we said, was a very eventful week. And I personally am of the mindset, I don't care when celebrities get involved in politics. They're humans too. They're voting. I think that they should. However, Ice Cube.
Oh, Lord.
However, so I have a lot of feelings about this. So the situation with Ice Cube is that he put out a contract with Black America to both the Biden campaign and the Trump campaign. Both campaigns reached back to him. Biden campaign said, we love what you're doing. Let's, discuss this after the election and really dive into it. Trump campaign, because he is trying to pander to Black people right now because he's losing in the polls, let's just be honest, they reached out to Ice Cube and was like, hey, let's talk about some of the things that you have in this contract. We can put it in our platinum plan. That if you haven't seen the platinum plan, it's the plan that Trump put out like a month or 6 weeks ago for Black people, which you've been president for how long and you're just not thinking of us, but that's another conversation. And he decided I'll work with the Trump campaign because they reached out to me. Now, I am the type of person that I do believe you should have conversations with people in power. I do believe in giving people the chance to right wrongs. I believe in grace. I believe in having conversations. But Trump is not it, and he's not going to do any of the stuff that he says in this platinum plan. It is just to get a vote. So I really don't know why Ice Cube, Mr. NWA, F the police, Trump needs to get arrested in 2018, he's rapping about, thinks that this is going to make a difference. Somebody else talk.
Oh, thank you for throwing this topic open. My heart is breaking. Why are these rappers speaking on behalf of Black people? One, I did not elect Ice Cube to speak for me. Him, Diddy, as much as Cardi B is popular and is using her platform, she's having conversations. It's like, why do these politicians continue to listen to these rappers? It makes it look like Black people are only rappers. Why not? Why don't we go to people who are educated in policy? How come nobody asked any attorneys? How come nobody asked anybody who's already in office? Why are we not asking people who are educated? Sorry. Why? Why are we asking these rappers who grew up in Compton about the contract for Black people? It doesn't make any sense. I didn't elect any of them to speak on behalf of me. And another thing is I looked at Trump's platinum plan. It's not saying nothing. I compared his plan for Black America to Biden's plan for Black America. Biden had facts. He has numbers. He has different things down to the T on what he wants done for Black America. Trump's platinum plan is like, we're going to create $500,000 in new jobs. We're going to empower the Black church. It's like, no one's asking you to empower the Black church to do anything.
Black church is fine. That's not the problem.
We're fine. We don't need you. I don't even know what you're talking about, the Black church. And then it's very disheartening to see these rappers continue to stick their neck out to speak on behalf of us when nobody asked them to speak on behalf of us. And then when people inquire into your platforms, you don't know anything about it.
Right.
Because Ice Cube went on Roland Martin's show and he was stuttering. He didn't know what he was talking about. He didn't know anything. So I was like, if you're going to have a plan, really know your plan. Like, what are you doing? You're making yourself look stupid. It's just dumb.
My thing is, I don't have an issue with celebrities and public figures stepping up, but the problem is that it was very apparent that Ice Cube had not had any conversations with people that aren't rich and famous about what they want. And he also didn't really seem to have read Biden's plan or Trump's plan. He just put out his own plan, or whoever he had write it for him. And now this whole fiasco is happening. So, I mean, Ian and Dana, feel free to comment on anything.
Ian and Dana, the two whitest people in this podcast, are like, I'm just going to listen. I'm just going to listen.
The only thing I'll say is that, as you know, Malynda, I had to text you and try to figure out what was happening.
Yeah.
But every time I see something about Ice Cube, the question I want to ask is, why aren't you more like Ice-T? That's just it.
And me as a comedian, I'm looking at this going, it is totally like on brand for the Trump administration to name a plan for the Black community, one of the whitest precious metals ever existed. It's called the Platinum Plan. I mean, it is the whitest thing you could possibly come up with.
I felt like it the name sounds like something you would market at a buffet in Branson, Missouri or something. It's the word platinum makes it sound cool and fancy and rich and powerful, but it's actually 3-day-old steak and a ticket to the Jim Spencer show or whatever. You know what I mean? It just felt so. Nothing against Branson, because Branson's actually a really fun place, but the name feels dishonest, and it's not even marketed towards me.
Right.
You know what I mean?
I think something's off about this.
There's two things happening in the white community, and I will say this as part of it, that I feel like when Kanye started running and people were like, oh no, he's going to take black votes from Biden. Mm-hmm. One, I don't think you're giving the black community enough credit to think that
we don't want Kanye. We don't want
Kanye. And I feel like the same thing now is like, I'm worried that, Ice Cube, for him to put out the plan to both, camps and saying that, well, Trump said that he, showed me what the changes he was going to do. Of course he did. Just like Mexico's going to pay for the wall and blah, 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 blah. Like, of course he's going to tell you exactly what you want to hear so that you'll make the public announcement. When in 2018, he was literally on Twitter saying, there's no way in hell I will ever endorse Donald Trump.
Right.
So that makes me worry about his convictions, Ice Cube's convictions, that one little word of saying, yes, this is what we're going to do. It's going to make you make a public announcement. Mm-hmm. Like, that's what bothered me so much. If it was even if the Jewish community, someone in the Jewish community, I don't know, Rabbi Shlomo went up to the Trump administration. There's got to be a Rabbi Shlomo. Everyone is looking for Shlomo.
There's got to be at least.
I gotta find him. I gotta find this rabbi.
I know. And I say that as a Jew. Trust me, there's a Shlomo in every family. If we went and the rabbi went to, the Biden camp and the Trump camp, and they, Biden said, we'll talk about this after the election. And Trump was like, oh, here is my 2-page pamphlet on the 40 pages that you just submitted to me. It would really bother me that someone would take him at his word. This man has lied.
About everything.
As many deaths as we've had from COVID is the same amount of lies that has come out of this guy's mouth since he's been elected. So that's the thing that bothers me the most, is that someone with such a base like Ice Cube would make such a public announcement so that it reached so many people when he has zero proof in his hand that any of these things are going to be implemented.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, on the other side, we got P. Diddy coming in with his new political party called Our Black Party, and so I have a couple of things.
I read it.
So here's the thing. I do know what I'm glad that he's trying to get Trump out of office. So I will give him that. Thank you. Yay. Ha ha ha. Okay. Other thing is, why are you starting a political party? 2.
Why?
3. I feel like people aren't putting the focus on the right things. So when you're in a position the way that Ice Cube and P. Diddy are, I do think if you want to help the Black community, then freaking help the Black community. So what I think personally P. Diddy should have done, not start your own political party, but some sort of organization that goes out into Black communities and educates them about voting, educates them about policy, educates them about different propositions and things, so that they understand what policies affect them, what they should be voting for. And like, that's what needs to be focused on, not just creating your own party, because we're getting back into this whole segregation feel. I personally, that's how it's coming across to me.
Yeah. So, sorry, is it LeBron that has like a big organization that seeks to educate about voting rights and government?
If anybody did, it probably would be LeBron. Honestly.
I do remember something. I think it's an NBA player, and NBA or NFL. Someone has like a Know Your Rights camp.
Yeah.
Is it Kaepernick?
Yeah.
Oh, Kaepernick has Know Your Rights.
I love stuff like that. But starting your own political party for Black people, it just makes it seem like Black people think exactly the same way.
Yes.
And that's very detrimental. And another thing is, like, why are we not working together? Why is one person doing this and one person is doing that? Why can't we form some type of committee if you really want to be involved in the process? My whole thing is civic engagement. I want to see more people involved in this process and knowing more about politics, but why are we starting contracts with Black Americas? Like, who did you contract with? Like what happened? Or like political parties? It was like, I'm not quite sure. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And
I think it stems.
If you look at the other side, the white party's not working out very well. So maybe they shouldn't. I mean, I'm gonna tell you that right now as a white person, it's not really going well in this camp either. So
I feel like a lot of it stems from mental illness on the parts of some celebrities and the president. And just like, I think especially now because of the pandemic, I feel like a lot of it stems from an attempt to stay relevant. And looking at just Ice Cube and P. Diddy from, in that microcosm, they're musical artists where music itself, listening to music is still relevant, but live performance and coming out with new stuff, that whole industry is completely different now. So there's definitely a sense of, I think from their part, wanting to be part of the conversation again,
Yeah.
on top of just being artists who are older now and obviously not new and fresh. And I think a lot of people see that in a way of, the way to do that is to be political. And I mean, you see it in the non-African American community as well, especially with a lot of like country artists and stuff like that, doing things for Trump and coming out. And say what you will about him, but like at least Ted Nugent, as crazy as he is, like he has put his money where his mouth is, and I think it's indicative of he actually believes these things and wants to use his convictions to better whatever community he sees. Whereas a lot of people jut into the arena with political parties or contracts or just ideas or statements that really are only focused on making themselves look good. So people are talking about them and what they're doing for the community, not it's about that and not about how is the community benefiting.
Right.
I have to agree with that. I do. Because Diddy, he has a big ego. I'm not going to lie. So if it benefits him, then why wouldn't he go for it?
For sure.
Right.
But my thing though is especially with, Black Americans that have made, exponential success and they are public figures and celebrities, you weren't always in that position. So I don't see why it is so difficult for them to kind of go back to their roots and realize, okay, I grew up like this. So how would I want to fix that? They're coming at it from a place of wealth and from a place of Black privilege, to be honest. And that's not how to approach the situation.
Yeah.
When you were saying this about not starting another party, there are organizations, Black organizations that have been in the trenches doing the work for 50 years. If you want to make a difference, give them $1 million so that they have a more public profile so that people can see this, because the work they're doing has actually worked. So that's what I would love to see. I say that from anyone who has money. Give it to an organization that has been doing this for 50 years and just needs the public platform.
Or people running for office.
Hell
Those campaigns that need money too.
The idea that any of it is a new idea is it's baloney. It's like you're not, no one's coming up with this for the first time.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I'm all for abolishing a two-party system. Like,
Me too.
I think that's the political solution to a lot of the problems in this country is moving away from, the blue and red only, really controlling things. Much easier said than done, obviously, but just saying I'm going to start a new party, like, okay, great. So it's another party that people are going to stop hearing about that isn't Democrats or Republicans. And what have you done?
Right.
Where's that money going?
And stop coming in at the 12th hour. Build a coalition. Build a coalition for 3 years so that you can run as a legitimate, so you can get the funding in the general election. Stop coming in at the 12th hour and trying to sabotage elections. And I'm not saying that's what P is doing at all.
No.
But when you start a third party, because at least, like you said, Malynda, he is saying our first goal is to get Trump out of office. I do kind of think it's funny when they're like, we welcome everyone who believes in, the Black community and moving the African community forward, whether Democrat or Republican.
Yeah, I was like,
because there's a lot of Republicans. I mean, come on.
We don't want Candace Owens, but that's another conversation.
We don't.
No, she's yours. Yeah.
No, she's not.
She is not. What I will say that I do appreciate about Ice Cube and P. Diddy kind of coming forward with whatever they're coming forward with is that I do think it is putting spotlight on the fact that Black Americans' needs have, and we talked about this before, have still to this day not been met in America.
Yep.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping that, God willing, that Biden, when he is put into office, that he does everything on the Lift Every Voice and Sing plan is, it is done.
I'm holding him to that.
Got to hold him accountable. So
your student loan portion, I'm holding you to the whole thing.
That's one of the things, like, we've got the progressive left, and I don't want to get too far into this, but there's a lot of crazy roses on Twitter that are saying, I'm not voting for Biden, burn this thing down.
I know who you're talking about.
Yep. I'm not going to mention anyone by name their followers are crazy.
Yes, very.
But getting Biden in there, when you have Elizabeth Warren and you've got Sanders in the Senate and you've got these people, a voice in his ear, and I'm not saying they're going to put, Elizabeth Warren on the cabinet because we need her as a senator in Massachusetts, especially with right now a Republican governor. But the bottom line is that if you think Trump and is another 4 years of Trump is somehow going to push your progressive ideologies any more than a Biden administration would, you are very mistaken.
Yep.
At least get him in there and know that you have someone with a listening ear that is going to hear this. You've got AOC pushing in Congress. You've got, the squad, all of them pushing for progressive ideologies. Like, please, and I don't know who's hearing this, but like, now's not the time to dig in your heels and do a protest vote. We need you so we can shift things. This is the soul of our nation.
Yeah.
It's such a naive and entitled point of view to have, in my opinion.
And
I don't care if any of those people hear it, because it's entitled. It's being able to sit there and complain for 4 years as loud as possible about everything that we've seen. And then to say, well, the person I didn't want wasn't chosen, so let's burn it all down because that's the answer. It's like,
it's privilege.
Check your privilege, man.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't mean that your far left progressive ideals aren't ever going to happen. In fact, most of them are great, but
agreed,
it's just not seated in reality, and it demonstrates like a surface level lack of awareness as to how this country works or how this country was intended to work. And that's honestly, in this election season, I have more trying to think of a polite word. I have more ire directed towards those people than any Republicans, because those people are the ones that are sitting there complaining it. And if Trump wins again, they're going to complain just as loud, but they won't do any real thing to try and change it.
They're like the Baruch assault. I don't know who's listening that knows what that is, but like the Baruch assault left going, I want it now, Daddy. I want it now. Was that the singer or from
but Willy Wonka?
Yeah, it was Baruch assault.
But they were a band. It was a band. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I was like,
I was thinking Willy Wonka though. Yeah. That's
my mind goes to Candy first.
Same.
Okay, good. Thank you, Ndidi. I was like,
Candy.
I think the band was named after the Willy Wonka character.
Okay. It came out of my head in my 90s, I'm an 80s baby, but the 90s in me went, wait, did I just try and make a really poignant point?
It was poignant. We understood. We're like,
we're with you.
We're with you. Yeah.
See, it's good. It's good because it hits anybody who was around in the 90s, not anybody, most people who were around in the 90s who got the band reference probably are old enough to appreciate the Willy Wonka reference.
Good. Yeah.
So it was very
good
smart, two-pronged.
It was good, Dana. It was good. All right, so now we know on Wednesday, the damn Senate is finally voting about COVID relief. I don't know how many Americans have been waiting for more COVID relief. We've all been in this terrible position.
Yeah.
Do you think that they are going to come to some sort of agreement?
No.
Absolutely not.
See, and I'm going to play devil's advocate, even though I agree with both of you. I'm going to play devil's advocate and say that Amy McGrath and Mitch McConnell are so close in this election now. If Mitch McConnell does not get something passed, I think it's going to look very, very bad for him and Senate Republicans at this point. So I would not be surprised to try and save their ass if they fold. But
we'll see. Yeah, see, that's
the
a good point.
The president can veto it. So what does that mean? Unless they get to 60%.
I think it's because my thought behind it is kind of along those lines, Dana, is that this is simply McConnell's attempt to make it look like the Senate Republicans are trying to help the American people and that the president and the Democrats are the ones to shoulder the blame for it not happening. I don't think they'll fold. I think they'll pass whatever targeted bill they're going to put forth, which is probably the same one from last month.
Right.
But they're doing it as an exercise to say, look, we're doing this. We're trying to do it, but it's these other people that are saying no, because I think really that they're truly they don't care about the president anymore. It's all about preserving a Senate GOP.
Yeah,
it does seem like they are kind of straying away from him, the more that he has his meltdown. So yeah, I think Dana, I could see that happening. Honestly, I could.
I don't trust any of them anymore. So I'm just trying to, you know what I mean?
How can you?
I just can't. And I'm not happy with Feinstein or Feinstein.
Yeah. Right.
I know I should know her last name, but
shouldn't you?
I know. I was like, I don't know, Iceberg, Goldberg, something sunk the Titanic. I mean, I'm so bad. I'm such a bad Jew. But there's a lot of people. There is an older. I love this. Like Ian and I are both Sunday school dropouts, probably, but. There's this older generation, and listen, I don't care if it's Republican or Democrat. If you cannot change with the times, I'm okay voting you out to have someone in there that is willing to. I'm not one of those people that will just vote party line for no reason, or to hang on to the old ship just because it's, solid. It's starting to decay and it's starting to weaken as well. So I would rather get fresh blood in there that wants to, there is no reason she should have touted Lindsey Graham for that Senate hearing. No reason. But so Senate, I'm going back to the COVID relief. I know I can get a little bit chatty.
Oh no, you're fine.
I don't honestly, I can see them doing something sketchy so it looks like they're helping us, and they're not.
Right. I agree. Ndidi, same.
I'm rooting for the American people right now. A lot of people are hurting right now. A lot of people need that aid. There's other countries who've been in the same or similar situation to us, and they've received so much more from their government. So right now, it looks really bad on us. And then we need to get those jokers out of there, because you are elected. You're supposed to be working for us. So I don't care about your party. Get the job done. That's what you're in Congress for.
It's really crazy to me how little the American people have been a priority for the Senate. It's really, really mind-boggling just to, you guys, they're taking recesses and vacations, and they're just they're trying to sweep this under the rug and just maybe it'll go away if we just don't talk about it or deal with it anymore. But, they are trying to save face a little bit. So
I feel like they realized probably in April or May that the way the administration was handling the pandemic does not look good, considering how much they've propped up the administration. So I feel like with that knowledge and them knowing that the Democrats are probably not going to agree to anything that's insulting to the American people, or that the president puts forth, I think they've been backpedaling for longer than it seems like. And that's why they've been just going on recesses and vacations and putting up these bills that may align with their beliefs, but that they know aren't going to get passed. Because it's all about the blame not being on them.
Yeah. Well, this vote happens on Wednesday, so we will have to wait and see what happens. And of course, we'll talk about it again next week. We are 16 days away from the election. I feel like I'm getting more and more stressed.
I know.
If you haven't voted yet, please, listeners, vote. If you need help, contact somebody. You can even message me. Please just vote. But thank you guys so much for joining me for this episode. Dana, it was great having you and chatting with you again.
This was awesome. Thank you so much for having me on. Ndidi, and so nice to meet you both.
Likewise.
Malynda, don't ever leave that little baby alone with me. You'll never see it. I will steal your child. It is the most beautiful thing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Oh my! So congratulations to you and your husband. I haven't been able to tell you that, but my goodness.
I appreciate that. Yeah, she's a mobile handful. And Ian's so funny because he has a daughter, and we've been friends for a while. He's always like, "Oh, this is gonna happen. Oh, you're gonna go gray. Oh, she's mobile now. Watch out!" And it's all true. It's all true.
And you haven't seen anything yet.
I know I'm excited though. She's really been my saving grace during the pandemic. I probably would have gone crazy. Well, thank you again for listening. Make sure you subscribe to We Need to Talk on Apple Podcasts, YouTube, and Spotify. And we will talk to you again next week.